Hi everyone, Stephen Jones here, Certified Financial Planner. Over the past 11 years, I've been blessed to work with a lot of amazing people. And I've noticed that we get a lot of the same questions, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to dive into those questions. I want to look at what are the common questions that we get asked around here. I asked the team, I said, what questions are we getting? What do people want answers to? And we're going to cover those today in this video. So let's dive in. Okay, in no particular order, here are the questions that we're going to cover today. Should I pay off my home? How much cash is too much in savings? What is an RMD and how is it calculated? Do I have enough saved for retirement? I have an inherited IRA. What do I do? What is the step up in cost basis? And do I need a trust? Okay, so the first question is, should I pay off my home? Now this is a big one because it's an emotional decision and it's a mathematical decision. It's both a, how do I feel about it? And how does the math work out? Like, what is the best way to handle this? Some people are going to approach this question with emotion. I want this house paid off because I don't want to have any debt. I want to be debt free. I don't want to have any monthly payments. Nothing wrong with that. Some people want to say, mathematically, what is the best decision? Do I need to make extra payments? Should I invest the difference? What should I do? What is going to help me in the long run? And so we're going to try to answer that both ways. So let's take a real scenario. Let's say you have a mortgage with $250,000 and your current interest rate is 3.5%. So we're gonna look at two people. We're gonna look at person A and person B. They both have the same income, but they're gonna look at different strategies. One is gonna make extra payments and not invest while they're making the extra payments. One is going to make the regular payment and invest the difference. And then we're gonna see what they both look like at the end of 30 years. Let's say the monthly payment is $1,123 a month, and both have an extra $500 a month to work with. So they can apply that $500 to their principal, or they can apply the $500 to an investment vehicle. So person A makes normal payments, plus invests the extra $500 a month at 7%. Person B puts the extra $500 a month towards the mortgage, then invests everything after paying off the mortgage. So how it plays out. Person B pays off the mortgage in 17 years instead of 30. So that $6,000 principal payment a year has saved them 13 years of interest and payments. Person B then invests the $1,623 a month for the remaining 13 years. See, we're looking at 30 years altogether. They paid it off in 17. That gives them 13 years to save. So after 30 years, person A has $614,000 saved up, and person B has $409,000 saved up. Person A comes out $204,000 ahead. Why? Compounding. Person A's money has grown for 30 years versus person B's only growing for 13. You have to keep in mind that when you're making extra payments, you're investing at the interest rate. So if your interest rate is 3.5%, 4 or 5, that's what you're investing at. If you are investing in the market and hopefully make an average return of maybe 7 to 11, you're always going to beat that interest payment. Now the emotional side here is that person B has $409,000 and their house was paid off 13 years in advance. Person A has $614,000 and their house was just paid off. Person A, to be honest with you, paid more in interest on their home than person B. And that's the mathematical side. My math people out there that's where they're going. My emotional people are saying, well, I had my house paid off and I have $409,000. Person A is saying, I have $614,000, but I paid so much more in interest payments. And that's how you have to look at it. There is no one size fits all answer here. The key point is, where is the money going? If you're not making extra payments and you can, are you saving it? Are you blowing it? You know, if you're saving it and investing it, you're going to be in great shape. If you're making extra payments and paying down the principal, you're going to be in great shape. It's just, where are your extra funds going? I will say, when all of your savings goals have been met and you're maxing out your retirement accounts, you've got your emergency funds, you're saving for your children, you can make extra payments on your house. You can afford to. You've met everything else. You almost have to, right? So I think the retirement angle here is no mortgage payment equals more freedom. Once your house is paid off and you're kind of free to say, I have no other debts, I've saved up my money, I have freedom. I have financial freedom now. The bottom line I think it really comes down to what is your current interest rate on your home. If you're 6-7%, maybe you should consider paying down the principal sooner versus investing in the market. If you have a 2, 3, I know there's some people out there in the ones, you could consider. There's a strong argument for investing. I give you that information to say that it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. Here at Jones Financial Partners, we look at every situation to see what is the best way to go. And so hopefully with that information, you can determine how you should answer the question, should I pay off my home? Okay, so the second question is here. How much cash is too much cash? This is a big question. And I feel like recently I've really been working with clients on this. You know, we say 3 to 6 months of expenses, and there's a whole, emotional side to why we say that. And I've covered that in other videos. Having too much cash is problematic because of inflation. So a lot of people don't realize that the money in their savings and checking account that is sitting there earning maybe 0.5% at a lot of big banks is being eaten away every year. It's called purchasing power. If inflation is 3.5 and you're making 0.5%, you're losing 3% of that money every year. 100,000 now, next year it's not going to be worth 100,000. It's going to be worth 96,000. It's just being eaten away by inflation. And I know mentally it's nice to log in online or look at your bank statement and see that amount and that it doesn't change, but it really does. As everything else in the world is going on and changing, that account is being affected because the money you have today is not going to be able to buy the same amount in 6 months or a year from now, or even 5 or 10. So that's where having too much cash in the bank can hurt you. Now, you still need that 3 to 6 months. You still need to save up for trips and all the other things that you want to do within your savings accounts. But once you've determined that amount, anything over that really needs to be in something maybe like a high yield savings where you can earn 3, 4, and 5%, CDs, treasury bills, some safe investments that can actually earn you some interest versus that 0.5% or so in a savings or checking account. So I encourage you to kind of review your situation, see how much you need for the near future, and anything over that, maybe you should consider a high yield savings, some type of treasury, bond, bill, note, or CDs, or something that's going to help that money grow and keep pace with inflation so you're not reducing the purchasing power as time goes on. The goal with cash is to not take risk, but don't leave money on the table. Let your money work for you, but you also want to keep the risk low. Okay, so next big one I get a lot, and this is common because as we all get older, this becomes a requirement, which is what is an RMD? So RMD stands for Required Minimum Distribution. And for most people now, the age requirement is 73. So at 73, you have to take a required amount out of your retirement accounts every year from this point on until the day you pass away. Why? So the IRS has looked at retirement accounts and said, we gave you a tax deduction for what you put into this. This money has grown tax-free for decades, and they've never seen a penny of it until you take the money out. Now, if you get to 73 and you've never taken a penny out, they're going to make you have the required minimum distribution because they want some of it. They need some tax money. That's the truth, plain and simple. That's why they have the RMD. So how do they calculate the RMD? So basically they take the December 31st value. So we are currently in May of 2026. They'll look at December 31st, 2025. And then they will take that number and divide it by the IRS life expectancy factor, which then equals the RMD amount. So for example, we'll show this on the screen here. Let's take $500,000 that you currently have in an IRA at age 75. The IRS Uniform Lifetime Table factor for you is 24.6%. So you divide the end of year value by 24.6, that gives you $20,325 that is required to be taken out this year. And that will be taxable. So it's like you earned it this year. It's a distribution from the account. You'll pay tax on that, and that's what the IRS is hoping to get out of it. Plain and simple. I'm just being honest with you. If you don't take the RMD, there's a 25% penalty on the amount that you were supposed to take out. So I highly suggest that you keep an eye on this and that you work with your advisor or work with your custodian to make sure that that RMD gets out by the end of the year, December 31st. You can take the RMD however you want, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, once a year, however you want to do it. You can live on it. You can use it for vacation. You can use it for Christmas presents, anything you want. It just has to come out of the account that year. That is the only requirement. Now, here's the cool thing. Roth IRAs, as we've discussed in past videos, do not have this requirement because they're tax-free. The IRS doesn't get anything. You can donate the RMD under a qualified charitable distribution. So any 501c3 corporation out there, you can donate these monies to them up to a certain amount. I suggest you work with your tax preparer to determine those amounts, but you can donate that, and then theoretically, since you donated it, you did not receive it as income, therefore it's not taxable. And that's one strategy we use here at Jones Financial Partners is we work with your CPA to determine which amount should you receive and which amount should we donate. So question number 4 is, do I have enough saved for retirement? Now this is a number one question we get. This is what we focus on. This is our bread and butter. This is what we help people with. Am I going to run out of money? Do I have enough saved? And this is what I love about what I do, because not every situation is the same. You would think they would be, meeting with so many people that you would see the same things, but you don't. Every situation is different. Every situation has a different starting point, a different middle, and a different end. And that's what I love about what I do. So to answer that question, we've built a financial freedom calculator that you can actually access on our website. We'll put a link in the description, and we're gonna go through that now here. And so this allows you to take your current age, what you're currently saving, what you currently have, any Social Security or pension benefits, and give you a percentage on how funded you are for retirement. So let's dive in. Okay, so a little bit about you here. So current age is 45. Your freedom age is 55. So you're saying, I'm 45 now and I want to retire at 55. My current savings is $350,000. Annual income needs in retirement. So we're basically saying at 55, I need $80,000 a year to live on for the rest of my life. Index for inflation at 3%. And I'm currently saving $2,500. So I'm 45, I'm saving $2,500 a month, and I want $80,000 in retirement at age 55. So other income in retirement, we have annual pension income, 0. So that could be teacher retirement, OPERS, military, any of those types of pensions, or maybe a pension from your company, and annual Social Security, and then other income. So if you have rental or you're going to work part-time, you can put those in here. So let's put in about $18,000 for Social Security. We're going to be a little low on that, but we're going to go ahead and put that in here. So your freedom number is $2,083,070. So basically at 55, this is the amount that you need to have saved up. So your $350,000 needs to go to $2,083,070. So you have 10 years to save. Your projected savings is $1,121,215. You need to close the gap of about $961,000, and your other income and everything is going to cover about $18,000 a year, which we know is from Social Security. So we need to make up the additional between $80,000 and $18,000. We need to make that up with our own personal savings. So you're 54% funded right now to receive $80,000 a year from age 55 and on. Now let's see how this number changes. So we're at 54% now. Freedom age, let's change that to 60. Everything else is the same. So now, because we have longer time, we got 5 extra years here. We haven't changed anything, but now our freedom number has gone up to 73. So if you move out retirement to 65, oh, now we're really in the green. We're at 95%. That's a great spot to be. This is something that could be, this is doable. This is very doable and something that could change. But let's go back to the 55. Let's say our current savings still, but let's say our monthly savings doubles. Let's do 5,000. That bumps us up in the green to 75. So now our gap to close is only 529,000. So you can see, you can play with the numbers in here. You can change the amount you need. Maybe you only need 65,000. And maybe your Social Security pension or your Social Security check is going to be 24,000. That really closes that gap, and gap to close is 0. So I recommend you go through this, have a little fun with it. Shouldn't take very long as you have all your numbers. And if you do want to schedule a conversation with us, you can click this button and go to our online scheduling tool and pick a date and time that works best for you. So hopefully that'll help answer the question, do I have enough saved for retirement? Okay, question 5. I have an inherited IRA. What do I do with it? So inherited IRAs have been around really since the dawn of IRAs. You inherit the money from a non-spouse, so it could be grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, siblings, you name it, you've inherited it from somebody who's not your spouse, and now you have this inherited IRA account. Now, before 2020, before the Secure Act came out, you could take out a little bit each year, like an RMD, make the IRS happy, and defer that account for your lifetime and then pass it on and so forth. So if you inherited that money before 2020, that's the boat you're in. If you inherit the money after 2020, there is now a new 10-year rule that is applied to inherited IRAs, both Roth and traditional, and all the 401ks and employer plans out there. The idea is that once you inherit the money, you have a 10-year clock that starts from that point on. By the end of that 10 years, that account has to be drained down to zero. So if you inherited $1 million now, by 2036, that account has to be zero. And that is the new requirement, which really messes a lot of things up planning-wise because, and this is my opinion, but let's take the scenario of $1 million that you inherited. Really, and let's be realistic here, you have to take out about 10% a year or so. That's $100,000 a year. It doesn't matter what your current tax situation is. More than likely that $100,000 is going to kick you into another bracket, and more money is going to have to come out of that $100,000. So if you're in a high tax bracket now and you get an extra $100,000, you might be paying 30 or 40% on that money. And so you're only getting 60 or 70,000 of the 100. That's one problem. The other problem is if that money is growing for 10 years, over time, you're gonna have to take out more and more than 10%, because the money has grown within that account. And so there's so many strategies and so many scenarios that can play out here. Most people, it seems, are taking out every year and deferring the 10 and then taking out the lump sum remaining amount in the 10th year. So that's the tax issue, because every dollar that comes out is taxable. Now let me say, you're always in the green. Okay, you inherited this money. You're always in the green. You're never going to give it all to the IRS. So the silver lining here is you take the money out, you pay the taxes, you reinvest it. And then at the end of 10 years, you're probably back where you were now. So hopefully you still have that $1 million at the end of the 10th year because you took it out, paid the taxes, and reinvested it. So you're always in the green. The common mistake here is missing the 10-year deadline, which I realize none of us we haven't made it 10 years yet. 2030 will be the first 10-year period we've seen since the Secure Act came out. So we'll see how things go as time goes on. And then titling the account incorrectly. So one thing to keep in mind is you cannot commingle inherited IRAs with your personal IRAs or other inherited IRAs that you have. It has to stay in the inherited IRA, and it has to be for your benefit. You also cannot donate the RMD out of the inherited IRA. Like we previously discussed how you can donate the RMD from your IRAs to a qualified charity. You cannot do that with the inherited IRA. So as I always say, consult with an advisor, consult with us before you start taking distributions out of your inherited IRA, and can kind of determine what's the best plan moving forward for you. So inherited IRAs are a big deal. As we all get older, we're going to start inheriting these IRAs. And also you need to think about who you're passing these on to. What does the beneficiary percentages look like? What does your child's lifestyle look like? And then go from there and try to make the best decision that you can for yourself and for your children when you're passing on IRA accounts. Okay, this is a really cool one. Question 6 is, what is step up in cost basis? So very simple terms. When you pass away, your beneficiaries can receive a step up in cost basis. So your cost basis is what you spent on the asset, whether that's investments, real estate, land, any of those types of assets. If you invested in it, that is your cost basis. From that point on, the growth in that account would be taxable to you if you made a distribution or sold the property or sold the land, and that's a capital gain. If you pass away those assets at death, your children receive a step up in cost basis, or I should say your beneficiaries receive a step up in cost basis. For example, let's say you bought a rental property for $100,000 20 years ago. That's your cost basis. Now, if you gave it to them while you're alive, they would inherit your cost basis, that $100,000. If you leave it to them at death, and let's say the value of the property now is $250,000, they get a step up to that $250,000 value when you pass away. And theoretically, turn around, they sell it, they virtually owe no taxes on it because they received that step up in cost basis. It's safe to say that the step up in cost basis rule applies to pretty much anything that's not retirement accounts related. So investment accounts, bank accounts, real estate, land, assets, not retirement accounts is what step up in cost basis applies to. And it's a great way to transfer on wealth. If you kept an investment property for 30 years, passed away, and then you pass it on to your child, like I said, they can theoretically turn around and sell that, or they could continue on, and their cost basis is now that $250,000 amount, and anything above that is what they would pay capital gains on. So very cool way of transferring wealth. It's something that is still available to us underneath the current tax plan. They haven't really touched it in a really long time, and so it's great. I really like it, and I think it's a great tool for passing on wealth. So number 7 is a question I've been getting a lot lately, because we have started estate planning here at Jones Financial Partners, and that is, do I need a trust? And there's not one size fits all. Everybody's different. Some people can pass on assets through beneficiary forms. You can put a payable on death at the bank on your checking and savings accounts. You can put transfer on deaths on your brokerage accounts. You can put beneficiaries on your IRAs and retirement accounts. And a lot of people are good with that. Some people want to, for lack of a better word, have more control over the assets in their estate. They might want certain tax benefits. They might want the money to go to certain organizations or be paid out over time versus a lump sum payment. And that's where trust comes in. Trusts provide privacy. Trusts provide security for your family, if you will. It provides an outline for your beneficiaries. It covers what you want. It covers how you want to be buried. Do you want to be cremated? What do you want at your funeral? How do you want things to happen? So a will and a trust kind of go hand in hand, in my opinion. A will is inside of a trust. You can't have just a will. If you have a trust, the will is inside the trust. A will is kind of like what you want to happen when you're gone. Who do you want to get some family heirloom? Who do you want to get this and that? The trust is what helps you bypass probate. So a will is still goes through probate. A trust does not. Trust is private. Anybody that has a document can walk in anywhere with it and handle any matter that they need to. It does not go through probate. It's not in public records. It does not go through the court system. So that's another thing. Trusts offer privacy, and they offer efficiency when passing on assets. So what are some situations where a trust makes sense over, say, like a will or beneficiaries? If you have real estate in multiple states. So I live in Oklahoma. If I had a home here and I also have a home in Texas and Colorado or land in Kansas, if you have properties in other states that are not your primary residence, that's where a trust can come into play. If you have a blended family and want control over how and when heirs receive money. So some people, second marriage, they have his, hers, and ours, if you will, and they want that distributed in different ways. That's where a trust would be really handy. You want to keep your affairs private. So like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't go through the court system. It doesn't go through probate. Basically, only the people who have the trust document and the lawyer that drew it up know what's going to happen with your estate. And then if you have a very large estate, there are tax benefits and just really overall simplicity for your heirs that you can go through. And that's where you really would consult with an attorney overall is, how do you want things distributed? What is your current financial situation? What does your estate tax look like? And let them help you decide which trust is more beneficial to you. So one thing I see a lot, and this is a common misconception and something that easily gets overlooked, is whatever is on your beneficiary forms trumps whatever the trust says. So let's take an IRA, for example. Let's say your two daughters get your IRA account, but your trust says your son gets it. Your two daughters are going to get what's in the IRA account. The beneficiaries on your accounts trump whatever is in the trust. So you need to make sure that those two match. Bottom line here, everyone needs a will at minimum. Trust kind of depends on complexity. So you need to work with your financial advisor and estate planning attorney to determine which one is best for you. Okay, so let's wrap up these questions real quick. Quick recap. Should I pay off my home? The quick answer is depends on your rate and what you do with the money. Question number 2, can I have too much cash? Keep 3 to 6 months liquid, but let's put the rest to work. That's the mindset I would have when it comes to cash. RMDs. So currently you have to start at 73. It's an easy formula. Most advisors and custodians will calculate that for you. You do not have to go out and calculate that yourself, but plan around them and be proactive when you start to take your RMDs and make sure you get them done by the end of the year. Do I have enough saved? Use our freedom calculator. Our financial freedom calculator is on our website. I'll put a link in the description. You can go through it. It takes a few minutes as long as you have all your information. It's a lot of fun to kind of sit there and play with the numbers and see how funded you are for retirement. If you have questions or you're not happy with your situation, there's a scheduling link there at the bottom of the tool. Inherited IRAs. Know the 10-year rule and know the spread there. Know what you have to take out annually. What is the required minimum distribution, if any, and try to get that account drained by the 10th year. That way no penalties are assessed. Step up in basis. So it's another big one, great way to transfer wealth, but inherited assets get a reset is the way you should look at that. Huge tax advantage if planned right. And then trust versus will. Everyone needs a will, but trust adds privacy, speed, and bypasses probate, but they are more complex, and so that's why you need to meet with an attorney and financial advisor to determine if you need a trust and which trust is best for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's been a lot of fun sitting here and answering the common questions that we get here at Jones Financial Partners, giving that information to you all. And so I hope you really learned something today and you've enjoyed watching the video. Please email me at steven@jonesfinancialpartners.com if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Thank you.